99 not to 98 billion. That is the whole amount of XRP that the world will ever have. Currently, there are just over 60 billion in circulation, but what if I told you that the amount of XRP you can access will gradually decrease? I want to go over this because it seems like many of these valid utility-based ideas are going to be devoured by all of these ETF launches and everything that is going on with cryptocurrency. Returning to XRP, it has an intriguing position in this market. The reason for this is that we now have ETF products that specifically target XRP. Retailers and institutional players are also pursuing XRP. Even treasury firms are aiming for XRP at the same moment that Ripple still has 34, nearly 38, or 35 billion XRP in escrow. 34 points is over 8 billion. And since the current coin market cap is 60.17 billion, I do believe that this is more recent than CMC. We have 65.2 billion over here. The last update was made an hour ago. As a result, this is updated virtually daily. However, if we look at the top holders, we can see that all of the escrow is here, and that escrow is all of the 34 point, nearly $8 billion that Ripple does own. As a result, there are 65.2 billion XRP in circulation worldwide. Well, additionally, we are observing that an increasing amount of that circulating supply is beginning to be depleted. We are aware of the significant decline in supply on exchanges. And that, in my opinion, relates to the notion that, first and foremost, large sums of money are accumulating. Second, retail is also growing. Third, due to the ETF wave, we're also beginning to see an increasing amount of supply being purchased up on OTC sales. Things we will also discuss. However, I want you all to understand that over time, even the amount of XRP burned will rise dramatically as a result of growing network demand and transactions. Thus, the supply will eventually run out. It is significant that XRP is a deflationary asset. It's significant, particularly at a time when demand in this area is beginning to increase significantly. Exchanges for cryptocurrency are not secure. It is also unaffected by the magnitude of the transaction. In February, one of the biggest cryptocurrency hacks in history occurred at Bybit, the fourth largest exchange by trading volume, resulting in the theft of 1.4 billion. Furthermore, the majority of the top 10 cryptocurrency hacks in history have been the consequence of significant transactions. So, aside from cold storage equipment, where do we keep our cryptocurrency? Since premium custody accounts are completely closed-loop systems that are intended to isolate and safeguard assets, I trust Capital provides them, making them one of the safest locations to keep your cryptocurrency. And the best part is that digital assets held on their platform may only be withdrawn in USD that is connected to a US bank account. It lowers the risk of phishing and illegal transfers by preventing external wallet connections. You may sign up using my link in the description below. Deposit $1,000 and receive a free $100 funding bonus today. If you guys are interested in accessing one of the safest places to lock away your cryptocurrency, based on this, it appears that additional ETF products are being introduced. The most current one is Bitwise, which we discussed yesterday. Well, how successful was this launch? We have James Seifert over here, though. Bitwise XRP is nearly at $22 million in trading today, with just over 3 hours of trading remaining. It's quite remarkable for the second product to hit the market a full week following Canary Fund's XRPC, this year's top launch by volume. If you are aware, XRPC was undoubtedly a significant one. It registered a total of, I believe, 2.9 million on day one. Now, I'll admit that Bitwise's did perform somewhat worse. To be honest, I was taken aback by Bitwise's performance. It was somewhat unimportant. Again, I'm shocked because Bitwise is much bigger than Canary Funds, and I had assumed that it would have a much better start. Indeed, Stephen McClurg is congratulating our partners at Bitwise on their XRP ETF today. We are demonstrating to Wall Street that launching the top 5 ETFs of 2025 doesn't need being BlackRock. As long as you don't displace us from first place, we are cheering you on to place in the top 5 as well. I appreciate you taking the time to consider this. As I mentioned before, Canary's total inflow was 58.9 million. Additionally, there were 1.13 million views overall for XRP, which is obviously the Bitwise one. Based just on the volume for the day and the closing total number of inflows, I may be a little off in this assessment because the price did somewhat decline. Overall, the inflows are estimated to be around 20.4 million. As I mentioned, I had much higher expectations. This is a little disappointing, in my opinion, but it makes sense given that XRPC was the first to debut. You know, they made more than 58 million. For Bitwise, this will be a slightly different tale, but the inflows will still be excellent. Now, the most important thing to pay attention to here is whether or not the amount of XRP being used by these ETFs on a daily basis, when we look at some of these inflows, is a really large number. No, but it will be eventually, as we'll discuss here in a moment. However, Bitwise did start something else. We have a big thank you to Bank XRP for this. NYSE ARCA has received official approval from the SEC to offer the Bitwise 10 cryptocurrency index ETF. This product uses verifiable reference pricing and daily NAV to track the Bitwise 10 index, held in SEC-approved assets to the tune of at least 85%. A varied assortment that includes Solana, ADA, Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin, and more. A significant step in the direction of more accessible regulated cryptocurrency markets. This is just another big push, another launch, for cryptocurrency ETFs. Of course, it does contain XRP as well. Ah, we adore this. Seeing this is amazing. Of course, we'll likely see a lot more XRP-based items in the future. We'll talk about a few upcoming launches in this video, as we already know. However, I would want to quickly present a video clip featuring Matt Hogan, the CIO of Bitwise. Once more, according to Bank XRP, we have 2026 is equivalent to ETF Palooza. With over 100 new cryptocurrency ETFs on the horizon, the XRP ETF nearing, over $1 billion in inflows anticipated quickly, and index-based crypto ETFs following institutional adoption at an accelerated rate. Look it over. However, the expansion of index-based cryptocurrency, ETPs, is what most excites me. The next person to purchase cryptocurrency is likely to be someone whose portfolio includes only a tiny amount of cryptocurrency. Regarding Ethereum versus Solana or Bitcoin versus another asset, they don't necessarily have an opinion. All they want to do is purchase a large portion of the cryptocurrency market and hang on to it over time. Thus, launches like Solana and XRP thrill me. There are a few more that I believe will be excellent. Believe the debut of Chainlink will be fantastic. There will be more in the future. However, I believe that one of the major stories in cryptocurrency for the upcoming year will be Index CTPS. And in the end, I believe it will be one of the main areas where people invest. Naturally, Bitwise has 8 years of experience managing index funds. I'm speaking for myself here, but I do believe that the majority of individuals prefer to invest by simply buying a basket of these assets and placing a wager that this industry will grow tenfold in the future. What I am most, and that's another major thing, isn't it? Since they saw the similar evolution during the dot-com boom, many want to buy, hold, and wait it out. Yes, there was a huge crash. Experience the dot-com bubble collapsing. However, it took some time for us to start seeing after that. All of the legitimately founded businesses eventually grow into enormous behemoths, such as Amazon, for instance. Therefore, I believe that he is right if we are considering this from a logical perspective. Many people are purchasing and holding these ETFs in anticipation of future events. The supply will gradually decline, and that's the key thing I'm looking at here. These ETFs, I believe that everyone is watching these ETF debuts and asking themselves, well, so why didn't the price jump out of the starting blocks? We ought to just do this with the debut of an ETF, don't we? As if that's not the way it is. Here we focus mostly on the fact that, yes, there are about 90 billion XRP in circulation, with 65.2 billion of that amount in circulation. The most important consideration in this case is how the 1-year mark will be. Alright, and Chad Sankerbro wrote a fantastic post about this. He published a thorough analysis of this. This is a 1-year prediction for the XRP ETF fund. Use all 7 of the first phase funds, assuming the current price, and then average up to 12 funds for phase 2. Canary then, 1.8, almost 1.9 billion XRP, or roughly 2.8 billion XRP in bits. 7.1 billion XRP in 21 shares. 63.5 coin shares. Tree of Wisdom 3.9 billion XRP, or nearly 4 billion. About 853 million in grayscale,